Welcome to the Ohio State Legal Services Association's Family Law Video Project. This video was made possible through the generous support of the Ohio Legal Assistance Foundation, and the content was created by Southeastern Ohio Legal Services and the Legal Aid Society of Columbus. The video you are about to watch will guide you through some of the forms that you will need to file in Ohio courts when you want a divorce or you need to respond to a divorce your husband or wife filed. The information we provide is not legal advice and does not create a lawyer-client relationship with you. We cannot guarantee any specific outcome in your case, and we are not responsible for any errors on your form. You should hire a lawyer if you can afford one, especially if your divorce case is complicated. This may mean that you and your spouse do not agree on custody of your children, you own real estate, you have a lot of property to divide, you or your spouse have retirement accounts, your spouse hired a lawyer, or if one spouse has a much higher income than the other spouse. If you need a lawyer or specific advice about your case, you have several options. If you are low income, you can contact your local legal aid program. If you need information about which legal aid covers your community, call the following number. Many communities also have pro bono clinics where low-income people can talk to a volunteer lawyer. Your local legal aid program will have a list of clinics near you. Finally, if you can afford a lawyer, you should reach out to your local bar association for a lawyer referral. The forms you will be completing can all be found online on the Ohio Supreme Court website here. The forms available online may be completed in Microsoft Word or PDF form on a computer. If you are not able to complete them on a computer, you can handwrite the forms. Be sure to print as clearly as possible and always use a pen. Some courts require you to use a pen with blue ink or black ink, so you may want to check with your local clerk of courts on ink requirements before you fill out the forms. Note that just because the Supreme Court is providing these forms, you will be filing them in your local courts, not the Supreme Court. This is not the only form you will need to complete. At the end of this video, you will see a list of forms that you will need to fill out if you are filing a divorce or if you are responding to a divorce complaint. If you complete and file the Supreme Court forms listed, that should be enough to get your divorce case started or respond to a divorce complaint. However, your local court may require you to also complete additional forms. Keep in mind that you might be watching each video more than once, as sometimes you will need to gather additional information that you don't have on hand during the first attempt.
This video will cover how to complete an affidavit of property. In a divorce case, both the plaintiff and defendant should file this affidavit. You will need a calculator and information about financial accounts and property values to complete this form. As stated in the introduction, if you own a lot of property that will need to be divided, you should talk to an attorney. At the top of the first page, you should see the phrase, "In the Court of Common Pleas." On the next line, write in the name of the county where your divorce complaint is being filed. Next, you should fill in the names of the plaintiff and the defendant. Directly below the court name and county, and to the right, write the case number on the line that starts case number. Use the case number on the complaint. If there is a judge's name or a magistrate's name listed on the complaint, write those names on the lines under the case number. If the judge and magistrate's names are not listed on the complaint, it is okay to leave these lines blank. Write your name next to affidavit of. In Section 1, write down information about real estate that you own, your spouse owns, or you own together. The last column asks for the current equity, which is the value of the home minus any mortgages or loans you have against the property. At the end of this section, you should total the amount of equity in all of the real estate listed. In Section 2, Part A, list information about the vehicles you and your spouse own. Include as much information as you can find. You may need to find a book with vehicle values at the library to fill in the current value. In Section 2, Part B, list all bank accounts and other financial accounts you and your spouse have. If you do not know the current value of accounts only in your spouse's name, you should still list the account, but you can write value unknown. In Part C, list the types of pension or retirement accounts either you or your spouse have. Include as much information as you can, even if you don't know exact amounts because the account is in your spouse's name. Complete Part D and E if you or your spouse has any stock, bond, or other financial accounts. Complete Part F if you or your spouse has any life insurance accounts. In Section G, list the values of furniture and appliances. You may want to talk to an attorney about what should be listed. You may not need to list all furniture that you and your spouse own. When you list values, you should estimate the current value of the furniture or appliances and not what you originally paid. In Section H, list the contents and values of anything held in a safety deposit box. In Section L, explain the transfer of any money or property transfers over $300 in the past year. List any other assets not listed above, then total all the assets listed in Section 2. For Section 3, if you have any property that you owned before you were married or you received a gift or inheritance, you should talk to an attorney to complete this section. In Section 4, list all debts that you and your spouse owe. A secured debt means that there is something that could be taken, like a vehicle or house, if you stopped making payments on the debt. An unsecured debt is not linked to any actual property. Most credit cards are unsecured debts. Finally, in Section 5, if you or your spouse filed bankruptcy, you will need to fill in information about the bankruptcy case. At the end of the form, there is a section with the title Oath. You must sign this document in front of a notary. Print your name on the first line. While a notary is watching you sign the line above your signature. The lines in this section beginning with sworn before are for the notary to complete. You can find a notary at most banks. If it's your bank, they will usually notarize documents for free. The clerk of courts will not notarize your documents for you.
You have reached the end of this video. Remember that if you still have questions about how to fill out the forms for your specific situation, you should talk to a lawyer. If you need a lawyer or specific advice about your case, you have several options. If you are low income, you can contact your local legal aid program. If you need information about which legal aid covers your community, call the following number. Many communities also have pro bono clinics where low-income people can talk to a volunteer lawyer. Your local legal aid program will have a list of clinics near you. Finally, if you can afford a lawyer, you should reach out to your local bar association for a lawyer referral. Remember that this is not the only form you will need. Here is a list of the forms you will need if you are filing a divorce or if you are defending or responding to a divorce. If you complete your forms and wait a period of time before you file the forms, it is your responsibility to check the Supreme Court website to make sure that there were no changes to the forms since you first completed them.